What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and man, oh man, it has been a while since we made a video about Johnny Depp on this channel. For those of you all who might not know, Johnny Depp is my favorite actor. And during the trial, the Amber Heard trial, we covered that trial basically daily while it was going on, but since then I've moved on to other topics, and I very rarely talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard anymore. For one, that whole situation I felt like kind of spiraled out of control after the trial, and it turned into a non-stop knockdown, drag-out slugfest between Johnny Depp fans and Amber Heard fans, and that war, that battle is still raging on to this day. Every now and then I have Amber Heard stans, send me a DM just to let me know that they haven't forgotten that they absolutely hate me. And that's always funny to see, but it's also always funny to see these people just picking people apart online. If I'm not mistaken, other lawsuits have come out of this situation, not between Amber and Johnny, but just random YouTubers, random fans are suing each other, they're fighting each other, both online, and I think there's been physical confrontations. It's boiled out of control, and I feel like people kind of obsessed over it a little too much after the trial. I mean, I think at some point we've reached a point where people maybe should have kind of moved on both sides, because it looked like Amber was kind of moving on, although she has her little creatures and her crew out here still spreading nonsense. And it looked like Johnny Depp just full-fledged moved on with his life. And, I thought it was time for people to move on. But, Johnny Depp was recently at a film festival. And this was one of his first really, I don't want to say first appearances, because the dude's traveling and doing music and stuff like that. But it felt like his first step back into the Hollywood scene. If that's fair to say. Not all the way, but I think you all get what I'm trying to say here. And it was nice to see him get a standing ovation. People clapping for Johnny Depp again. But even watching that and watching those clips, I was just like, whatever. These same people who are clapping for Johnny Depp now were acting like he was public enemy number one, the worst man ever created a few months ago. The love that you get from these Hollywood folks is totally artificial. And the same people who were cheering for him in that room that day were the same people who were throwing darts at him beforehand. So those emotional clips of Johnny getting applause and stuff and standing ovations, that means very little to me. What did stick out to me, though, was when Johnny Depp was answering questions from reporters. And I found one answer really, really interesting. It really stood out to me. And it just reaffirmed the reason why I like Johnny Depp. Despite the fact that me and Johnny probably have different views when it comes to a lot of things. I don't agree with all of the opinions that Johnny has ever shared online. But I also don't think that this dude is a complete monster like they made him out to be. And I think Johnny has woken up and realized just how full of crap Hollywood is. Hollywood isn't as popular as it used to be. Hollywood used to be where trends started. Now it's where trends go to die. I think everyone's had it up to here with these Hollywood folks. We're fed up of Hollywood. We're fed up of these celebrities preaching to us about a bunch of nonsense, spewing propaganda, planting seeds of division. I think that most of America is fed up with Hollywood. And the sooner actors and actresses realize that, the better. So it's always nice to see when someone that I like Johnny Depp, it's nice to see when they come to that realization and they choose a side. And the side they choose is not the side of all of these Hollywood pretenders, but the side of just being a genuine person that's in love with your craft. Without further ado, let's go ahead and watch this clip so you all know about the clip that I'm talking about, so you can hear what Johnny has to say out of his own mouth, and then I'll be back with a few more thoughts.
Film, you had mentioned in an interview in the Sunday Times back in 2021 that you felt boycotted by Hollywood. Do you still feel that? Do you feel that the tide is changing toward you doing major studio films again?
It's not my tide that we're discussing. Did I feel boycotted by Hollywood? Well, I mean, you'd have to not have a pulse to feel at that point, to feel like, no, none of this is happening. This is actually just a kind of a weird joke. You've been asleep for 35 years. So just let the weirdness commence. Of course, you know, I mean, when you're asked to resign from a film you're doing because of something that is merely a bunch of kind of vowels and consonants floating in the air, yeah, you feel a bit boycotted. Do I feel boycotted now? No, not at all. But I don't feel boycotted by Hollywood because I don't think about it. I don't think about Hollywood. I don't have much further need for Hollywood myself. I don't know how you guys feel, but yeah, I think it's a very strange, funny time where everybody would love to be able to be themselves, but they can't, because they must fall in line with the person in front of them. You want to live that kind of life, I wish you the best. I'll be on the other side somewhere, you know.
Let me just start out by acknowledging the fact that there were a lot of random questions about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and that whole situation that were thrown all over the place during this film festival. And not just towards Johnny Depp. I saw random actors and actresses who were supposed to be answering questions about other movies and other projects, but these reporters were trying to bait them in to talking crap about Johnny Depp or talk them into saying something negative about Johnny Depp. They even tried to bait Brie Larson into doing so. And I find that kind of disgusting. The dude's at the film festival, his movie's there, leave it alone. And if you're going to ask someone, I mean, I find it kind of disrespectful that Johnny Depp's this whole thing, like he should be promoting this movie, answering questions about this movie, yet people are still pestering him about this situation, about this trial that already happened. That's already disrespectful enough in itself. But to take it even further and to kind of make this whole film festival about virtue signaling about Johnny Depp, I hate it. I hate that that's how Hollywood is. So when I see Johnny Depp's comments, of course I agree with what he has to say. And I'm glad that he has chosen this stance. Johnny Depp does not need to seek validation from anyone in Hollywood. Johnny Depp does not need to seek validation from his peers. If Johnny Depp is going to seek validation anywhere, maybe from his fans, whose lives have been changed by his work. And maybe that sounds dramatic to some, but as a film enthusiast, as a movie buff, I could say that there have been movies that I've watched throughout my life that helped shape me into the person that I am today. There have been movies that I watched that helped me get through hard times. So I honestly think that the connection that Johnny Depp has with his fans is a deeper connection than Johnny Depp has with his peers in Hollywood. And, you know, for him to sit there and acknowledge that, yeah, this is a weird time that we're living in. It's a strange time. No one feels like they can be themselves We need more people in Hollywood speaking out about stuff like this. Because it's facts, it's true. A lot of this stuff, a lot of this propaganda that's spewed by Hollywood, it helps shape our society into what it is today. And if you look around you, it's obvious that a lot of people are afraid to be themselves, and they're definitely afraid to speak their mind. There are so many people afraid to speak their mind. And I'm reminded by that every single day. Every single day. I get literal DMs and Instagram messages, direct messages from other creators who agree with some of my takes on certain subjects, but they're just too afraid to voice their own opinions. We need to get rid of that. And in order to get rid of that, I think we need to move away from this obsession that we have with Hollywood. Because we have an obsession with Hollywood. And I know that may be weird for me to say, someone who's a movie buff. But I've always connected with the art of filmmaking. Not necessarily the actors and actresses who star in these movies. I've never been the type of person to fall in line with what everyone else thinks, with what everyone else does. I don't purposely try to stand out, but when you don't stand in line with the norm, you stand out on accident. And you know, Johnny Depp never struck me as the person to stand in line with everyone else, even though there were times where I questioned him, where it seemed like the woke mind virus of Hollywood was getting to him. I'm glad that he has finally acknowledged what is going on here. What Johnny Depp said in that recording may not seem like much to you all, but as someone who constantly preaches about this problem, I'm constantly preaching on every platform I have about this problem that we're suffering from, where people are just deathly afraid to be themselves. They're so afraid just to speak their minds. It's insane. And I'm glad that Johnny Depp no longer feels the pressure of having to live that way. What Johnny Depp went through with Amber Heard has been disgusting. I'm sure it's been hard. It changed his life as he knew it. But in many ways, maybe it was all a blessing in disguise. If this is what it took to rip you out of the greedy, evil arms of Hollywood, then so be it. I believe Johnny Depp has a bright future ahead of him. Despite his age, I still think that we have a lot that we're going to see from Johnny Depp in the future. And as people separate from Hollywood, people are going on to realize that we don't need Hollywood anymore. We don't need that old structure anymore. People are making contents, people are making movies at their house with their iPhones. We don't need Hollywood anymore. Johnny Depp doesn't need Hollywood anymore. And the sooner Hollywood goes away, the better. Let me know your thoughts, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all in the next video.